President Trump has threatened more attacks against Iran, but says he thinks the war won't start again. He made the comments on the last day of the NATO summit in Ankara. Trump called Iranian officials, quote-unquote, dishonourable, and has even hinted at the possibility of seizing Iran's Kharg Island. But he has left the door open for diplomacy, saying he'll let his negotiators continue their talks with Tehran.
Mr. President, it seems that the war with Iran may start again. What do you expect from your European allies?
I don't think it's going to start again. I think it's going to go very quickly. They hit a couple of ships, and so we hit them much harder. When they hit, we hit 10 times harder. You know, we hit much harder than they do. We have a lot better equipment than they do. We may even, somebody asked before, do you think you'll hit them tonight? I said, we might. Yeah, we might. But when they hit, we hit. You know, it's what we use their language. We speak their language. No, I don't think so. I think anything that happens is going to be over very quickly.
Indeed. Let's have a look and see some of what President Trump had to say at this year's NATO summit. Donald Trump citing what he called tremendous unity at the meeting in Ankara, but he also went on to say that the ceasefire deal with Iran is over and dealing with Tehran is a waste of time. The American president says he'll likely strike Iran again Wednesday night after attacks the previous day. He added he may reimpose a naval blockade on Iran while threatening to take over Kharg Island. And that's he's not actually sure the deal with Tehran will actually stick. Now, Rosiland Jordan is live for us from the White House. Rosiland, what more do we know about these strikes we saw on Iran overnight and the plan to strike Iran potentially tonight as well?
Well, the U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters and onlookers earlier on Wednesday that the U.S. was probably going to strike Iranian targets again on Wednesday evening or on the overnight, July 8th. That would come a day after the U.S. military did take out what it said were about 80 Iranian military targets, including command and control centers, radar, satellite radar centers, material depots, other military targets as a response to what they said was Iran's illegal interference with the travel of 3 commercial shipping vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. military has said that while the blockade that the U.S. had been imposing is not in effect, that it does reserve the right to defend the right of commercial shippers to transit the Strait of Hormuz without any outside interference. Iran, of course, has been trying to say that it controls the waters through the Strait of Hormuz and thus has the right not only to delay or to allow passage, but to charge tolls as well, something which the U.S. objects to. Now, whether or not the U.S. military is going to carry out a second night of strikes is really anyone's guess at this point. But the last time that the U.S. president telegraphed this sort of action would happen, it did happen a couple of months ago.
Rosiland, Congress did pass the War Powers Resolution, which limits Trump, in theory, I use that advisedly, from carrying out new attacks against Iran without congressional approval. Does that in reality prevent Trump actually from re-engaging in warfare with Tehran?
It's a resolution. It's not a law. So it doesn't have any practical impact. But what this joint congressional resolution passed by both the House of Representatives and the Senate does is send a message not just to the American public, but to the global community that at least the U.S. Congress does not think that renewed military operations against Iran is a good idea. Is there a political cost? Well, there were some who found themselves leading the charge for earlier resolutions of disapproval earlier in the year, and they found themselves targeted by the president's political supporters and have essentially lost their efforts to win re-election to seats, particularly in the House of Representatives. Whether or not that same kind of retribution could happen to them in the fall is really anyone's guess, especially given that a solid majority of Americans are opposed to the U.S. war against Iran.
Rosiland, thank you so much. Rosiland Jordan there joining us from the White House. All right, let's get over to Ankara. Osama Bin Javaid joins us there. And Iran certainly dominating this summit. But as you know, we've been hearing from Donald Trump, mixed messaging there on the one hand saying that he can't trust the Iranians, and on the other hand saying that he's not going to go to war, but also intimating that he'll be going on further with military strikes. I mean, what gives here?
Well, it is the kind of mixed signals that you've been hearing from the Trump administration, where, and especially on the Iran front, there has been one step forward, two steps back, because there is a ceasefire, because there is a memorandum of understanding, because they've both agreed in writing that they will respect territorial integrity and sovereignty, including Lebanon, and all of that seems to be in abeyance as none of it is implemented on the ground. The Iranians continue to target ships through the Strait of Hormuz. The Americans continue to target Iranian military installations in the south, and the American president continues to ratchet up the rhetoric while in the same breath telling reporters that his envoys are going to go back and continue talking. So this is where we are in the state of affairs with Iran. And you've been hearing a lot about Iran here in Ankara, rather than the European issues that were supposed to be highlighted here, including the Ukrainian war, including issues about Greenland. And it appears that the situation, especially on Greenland, is status quo, where the US president still believes that it should be under US control. And you've also heard on various issues regarding Ukraine, including the American agreement in principle to allow for Patriot missiles to be manufactured there. And obviously on the Iran front, that he's ready to go to war, but he's losing patience with the Iranians.
Osama, again, let's get back to the Iranian issue, and because it has dominated the summit, and even Pakistan has been getting involved here. So the Pakistani Foreign Affairs spokesman saying that people should try and really adhere to that Islamabad memorandum of understanding.
Absolutely. In the last few minutes, we've heard this statement from the Foreign Office, and we'll just read it together, that not just concern that Pakistan has expressed, but essentially a renewed conflict is in no one's interest, according to this statement. And continued engagement, dialogue and diplomacy can achieve shared goal of peace in the region. And Pakistan urged all sides to uphold their respective commitments under the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, which remains an enduring foundation for understanding, mutual respect and shared prosperity. So something that we've heard time and again, because the mediators especially are in a very difficult situation, especially if you look at the role that Qatar has been playing, trying to keep the memorandum of understanding alive, trying to give them the platform to have those talks, and now facing another attack on its ship in the last 24 to 48 hours, and then the Iranians reiterating that after the US president has made those remarks, which are being seen as incendiary, Ali Velayati making those statements that it is essentially pushing the region towards fire. So it is a precarious situation. It is a tenuous peace which is hanging on tenterhooks, where a lot of equations can go south, but it appears that it is holding, and the tit-for-tat attacks that we've been seeing are going to continue for the foreseeable future.
Osama, thank you so much. Osama Bin Javaid there, live for us in the Turkish capital, Ankara. The advisor to Iran's new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, has released a statement following the US attacks. It says, "We previously warned the region is not a playground for the political gambles of small countries, and we have repeatedly demonstrated that such adventures will be met with an immediate response." Let's get over to Mahmoud Abdelwahed in Tehran. Mahmoud, what else are the Iranians saying?
Rishad, it seems that so far Iran has not signaled any change in policy. It's the same. We've heard Iranian politicians in several occasions reiterating that, especially after Donald Trump's intimidating rhetorics and speeches, Iranians respond by saying that they cannot give in to coercive diplomacy. In fact, that usually has a backlash here in Iran, because Iranian officials say that given the fact that there is already a deficiency of trust between the two sides, and these threats to strike Iran and to attack Iranian facilities would definitely, according to Iranian officials, would increase the trust deficiency and also put pressure on the already overstretched efforts to build trust between the two sides. But today we've heard from Iranian Foreign Ministry accusing the United States of violating the memorandum of understanding, especially Article number 1 pertaining to the ceasefire. The Foreign Ministry says that the attacks, the latest spate of attacks by U.S. forces in southern Iran, along with the Israeli attacks in Lebanon, they constitute a violation of the memorandum of understanding. Also, Article number 5 pertaining to the management of the Strait of Hormuz, which is a sovereign right to Iran, and Article number 10 pertaining to the waiver of the oil exports.
Mahmoud, what more do we know about these pre-dawn strikes that left at least 8 Iranian soldiers dead?
Well, those attacks happened in southern Iran. As we understand, the airstrikes, the U.S. airstrikes targeted military facilities and radar systems in Khuzestan province. And according to the Iranian Khatam al-Anbiya Center, which is the central command, 8 people, military individuals, were killed in those attacks. And in fact, it said that it will respond with a crushing response. In fact, the Khatam al-Anbiya, or Central Command, accuses the United States not only of violating the memorandum of understanding, but also manipulating the region and using other states to launch attacks. The IRGC and the Khatam al-Anbiya, which is the Central Command, blame the countries hosting U.S. Military bases. They say that they are also blamed for carrying out these attacks by United States forces.
Mahmoud, thank you. Mahmoud Abdelwahed, live in Tehran.